Lestat in my presence!
Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. The third episode of the Vampire Lestat takes us deeper into the one thing that has always defined Lestat more than anything else: his desperate need to hide how much he's actually hurting. Toronto feels like an episode designed to trick us, because at first it plays like a glamorous rock star interview, almost like we're watching a vampire celebrity expose himself to the world. But slowly, the mask begins to crack. And by the time the emotional weight of the episode hits, we realize that this was never really about Lestat's music, his fame, or even his immortality. It was about a man who has spent centuries running from his own trauma. And the irony is that Daniel Molloy, who believes he is the one controlling the interview, is actually stepping into a psychological battlefield. Daniel thinks he has finally gotten close enough to the truth, but what he doesn't understand is that Lestat is not just another interview subject. He is a vampire carrying centuries of pain, anger, arrogance, and denial. And when Daniel pushes the wrong buttons, Lestat doesn't just get angry. He breaks. The episode also shows us that every major character is dealing with their own personal disaster. Lestat is losing control. Daniel is struggling with his new existence as a vampire. Louis is still trapped between revenge and grief. And even Gabriella continues manipulating everyone around her. Everyone is fighting their own demons. And the scary part is that most of them don't even realize they are losing.
You bust a coffin. I saved your life. You owe me.
What happened to Lestat? The episode opens by showing us another example of how dangerous Lestat can be when he is performing for the world. Before the interview, we see him with Gabriella, and the two of them are hunting together. Avery and Natalie are simply two newlyweds who happen to cross paths with vampires who are already looking for entertainment. Their mistake is not doing anything wrong. They're just unlucky enough to catch Lestat's attention. Lestat has always had this theatrical side. Even killing becomes a performance for him. He wants to impress Gabriella. He wants to prove something, and he wants to show that he's still in control. But underneath all of that confidence is someone desperate for approval. That becomes a major theme throughout the episode. When Daniel sits down with Lestat, he believes he has the upper hand. He has his documentary, his questions, and his experience as a journalist. But Daniel's biggest mistake is thinking that because he understands people, he understands Lestat. He doesn't. Daniel tries to provoke him by suggesting that this documentary might just be Lestat's attempt to create a beautiful ending for himself. And honestly, Daniel is not completely wrong. Lestat's entire rockstar career feels like a form of self-destruction. He says it's about expression, about art, about freedom, but there is always something underneath it, a need to be seen, loved, and understood. Lestat knows this. That's why Daniel's comments hit so hard. What makes their relationship interesting is that both of them are lying to themselves. Daniel pretends he is simply being objective, but he clearly wants to hurt Lestat because he still carries anger from everything that happened to him. And Lestat pretends he doesn't care, but every insult finds its target. Even when Daniel mocks his songs and questions his emotions, Lestat holds himself back. That actually tells us something important about him. For someone as powerful as Lestat, the fact that he doesn't immediately destroy Daniel shows that he still has some attachment to him. But Daniel keeps pushing, and eventually, he brings up the one thing Lestat has spent his entire existence trying to bury: his human past.
I was taken to see witches being burned at a stake.
Lestat's childhood trauma and Gabriella's influence. One of the biggest revelations in this episode is learning what happened to Lestat when he was young. Daniel forces him to confront memories he has spent centuries avoiding, especially the moment when Gabriella took him to witness the execution of 4 women accused of witchcraft. Only 2 of those women were actually guilty. But for young Lestat, the experience was devastating. It changed him. The fear, the violence, and the helplessness stayed with him forever. This was the moment when his stutter began, and it became a wound that he carried even after becoming a vampire. The reason this matters so much is because Lestat hates admitting weakness. He can admit that he was cruel, arrogant, or reckless. Those things make him feel powerful. But admitting that he was scared, that someone hurt him, that he was powerless, that is almost impossible for him. And this is why his relationship with Gabriella is so complicated. He constantly makes excuses for her. Even when she causes him pain, he finds a way to defend her. That tells us just how deeply connected he is to her. Gabriella also understands Lestat better than anyone. During the interview, she is not just watching. She is actively manipulating the situation. She knows exactly which buttons to press. She encourages Daniel's questions, enjoys watching Lestat struggle, and even uses Jarda to provoke jealousy. She wants a reaction, and she gets one. When Lestat finally loses control and throws Jarda across the room, we see just how powerful he truly is. This moment is important because it reminds us that behind the charming rock star image is an extremely dangerous vampire. But the bigger question is, does Lestat even want that power anymore?
Lies on lies on lies. Sudden vanishing.
Why did Lestat turn Nicki? The discussion about Nicholas de L'Enfant or Nicki reveals another side of Lestat that he desperately tries to hide. Nicki was not just someone from his past. He was his first great love, and that is exactly why Lestat struggles talking about him. Lestat can joke about almost anything, He can talk about murder, fame, violence, and immortality. But when it comes to genuine emotional connection, he becomes uncomfortable. Nicki represented a version of Lestat that was vulnerable. Their relationship began when they were young, before Lestat became the immortal being everyone fears. Nicki knew him before the fame, before the power, before the performance. He knew the real person. That makes what happened between them even more tragic. After Lestat was turned by Magnus, he tried to hide his new reality from Nicki, but keeping such a huge secret was impossible. The lies, the manipulation, and the emotional distance slowly destroyed Nicki's trust. Lestat tells himself that he was protecting Nicki, but the truth is more complicated. He was afraid. He was afraid of losing, afraid of admitting what he had become, afraid of facing the consequences. When Nicki was eventually tortured by Armand's followers, Lestat rescued him, but by then the damage was already done. Nicki had been pushed too far. His mind was already breaking, and Lestat's attempt to save him by giving him the dark gift only made things worse. Lestat believed becoming a vampire would fix everything, but immortality doesn't heal a broken person. It only gives them more time to suffer. Nicki's transformation became another tragedy caused by Lestat's inability to deal with pain honestly.
Unlike your last vampire, there are no delusions here.
Why Lestat plays the telepathic prank on Daniel. The ending of the interview is where everything falls apart. Daniel believes he is recording one of the most important conversations in vampire history. But then, Lestat reveals something terrifying. Not everything Daniel experienced actually happened in the recording. Much of what Lestat told him happened inside his mind. It was a telepathic attack, and it was the ultimate Lestat move. Emotional, dramatic, cruel, and strangely personal. The reason Lestat does this is because Daniel pushes him too far. When Daniel brings up Magnus, the vampire who created Lestat, he touches a wound that never healed. Lestat has spent centuries pretending Magnus was simply part of his origin story, but the truth is much darker. Magnus abused him, kidnapped him, and forced immortality upon him. Lestat doesn't want to admit that because it means admitting he was powerless. So instead, he transforms the pain into a story. He turns trauma into mythology. But even Lestat cannot fully escape it. The episode shows him seeing visions of his past, including the ghosts of people he lost. His mental state is collapsing, and the telepathic prank becomes a reflection of that chaos. He hurts Daniel because he feels hurt himself. And the saddest part is that afterward, Lestat almost regrets it, because deep down, he knows Daniel wasn't prepared for what he was experiencing.
And for a second, I thought I was gonna go right there, but...
Does Louis kill Bruce? While Lestat is fighting his own demons, Louis is dealing with a very different kind of darkness. The Talamasca sends Louis after Bruce, and Louis is more than willing to accept the mission because Bruce represents everything that destroyed Claudia's life. Bruce's vampire group is violent and corrupt. They treat humans like disposable food, and their entire existence is built on cruelty. Louis doesn't hesitate. He wipes out the coven and frees the humans being held captive. But he isn't finished. He is waiting for Bruce. And when Bruce arrives, Louis doesn't simply kill him. He makes him face what he did. He forces him to listen to Claudia's words, making him understand the pain he caused. Then Louis uses his powers to burn him, giving Bruce the same helplessness Claudia once felt. It's revenge, but it's also Louis trying to give Claudia the justice she never received.
Still in rags.
Is this better?
The ending explained. The ending of the Vampire Lestat episode 3 connects everyone through the same theme, pain that refuses to disappear. Lestat crashes his car after confronting the ghosts of his past, but he walks away like nothing happened. That perfectly represents him. He is broken, but he refuses to stop performing. The next day, he goes on stage and sings because music is the only place where he can be honest. For a moment, he stops lying. Daniel also starts realizing that immortality is not the gift he imagined. His actions show that he is struggling with what he has become. Louis is still trapped by his memories of Claudia and his need for revenge. And Armand appears to be making his own move by getting closer to Lestat's world again. Episode 3 proves that these vampires are not powerful because they are immortal. They are powerful because they survive pain that should have destroyed them. But survival is not the same thing as healing. And Lestat, more than anyone, is still running from the wounds he refuses to admit exist.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.